The Moto G Stylus is the first budget stylus phone I have ever used. I'm a big Samsung fan and have used every single Note phone ever since the Galaxy Note 2. And the Galaxy Note has always been Samsung's best of the line phone. It tends to have the highest specs. It is generally the best phone that Samsung has to offer. These days, the Note no longer exists. The best phone is actually the Ultra line, although the most expensive phone is the Fold series. But the Galaxy S24 Ultra, that phone costs $1,300. The Moto G Stylus costs $400. The OnePlus 12R changed my mind about mid-range phone, and you don't really need to spend more than $1,000 to get a good phone. I will start off with an unboxing video. It is not your traditional unboxing video. I recorded the video on my Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses, and I did it while walking to Starbucks with my baby. These days, don't have a lot of time to sit and make videos, so gotta improvise and make videos on the go. And then I'm gonna walk you through my experience with this phone after 24 hours. It's gonna be a jam-packed video, but I have a lot of thoughts. I'll let you know 11 things that I like about this phone and 11 things I do not like about this phone based on my first impression. But before going any further, just want to give a quick shout out to my partner Mint Mobile. Currently they offer a 5G plan for as low as $15 a month. You do have access to unlimited talk, text, and data. You do have to buy 3 months up front, but it is a great deal, so make sure to check them out. Link in the description below. Okay, so my initial goals and dream was to record the video last night. Then it was dinner time, then I had to put the baby to bed and shower, and then fell asleep. Sometimes life happens. So now I'm recording this video while going on a walk. Got my baby on a stroller over here. Trying to multitask and make the best use of time. So I wanted to start off with 11 things I like and do not like about this phone. And I wanted to do this while having the camera on to record like I'm doing right now, and also use the split screen function so I can see my nose at the same time. But I noticed on the Motorola G Stylus it does not allow me to do that, which is odd because any of the other phones that I've used in the past, I don't use split screen a lot, but this is probably the only situation where I would do it, is I'm recording a video and I would like to view my nose at the same time. A good use case for me. Unfortunately, this phone does not let me do that. So now I have to switch back and forth manually and probably record a whole bunch of clips. So that is probably the first thing I do not like, which it originally wasn't part of the list. So it might be 12 things I don't like and 11 things I do like. So we'll start there. Second thing I don't like is the screen size. I know it's probably an oxymoron because you're getting a phone for the stylus. Ideally you want a bigger screen so there'll be more room to write and draw or do whatever you want. Ironically, I don't really use the pen that much, but this is kind of a personal preference. I'm more of a small phone compact guy. If you watch any of my other videos, I prefer the base Galaxy S24 model. I prefer the Pixel, the smaller one, the 8 or the 8A compared to the Pro. Just much easier to use and hold in one hand. I know I have two hands walking my baby like this, I only have one hand. So I want a phone that's easy to use. Although this phone is pretty big, I like that it is lightweight. So I'm recording the video and holding it with one hand. And it feels really light and manageable. When I use the Galaxy S24 Ultra, I think that phone is 6.8 inches. It just feels much heavier and cumbersome to hold. I like to carry two phones with me at the same time. One is the current phone with the SIM card in it, which is my Moto G Stylus at the moment. And the other one I mostly use as a camera, which is my Galaxy S24. But sometimes when I'm at home, I have access to Wi-Fi and I have two phones in my pocket. I would generally reach for the lighter, smaller phone if I need to do something quick, send a text with one hand. Just much easier than using this large phone. The thing I don't like about this phone is the camera. Not in terms of quality, this actually looks pretty decent with the front selfie camera, walking in the sun. I know I'm fighting sunlight and everything like that, but in general the quality looks pretty good. It's just a little slow to load. Sometimes when I launch up the camera, it can take anywhere from 1 to 5 seconds to load. Sometimes it doesn't even load at all, so I have to restart it. But other apps in general, scrolling around, It works fine, just for whatever reason the camera takes forever to load. Okay, back in my office again. Gonna bang out the rest of this video, hopefully with no more interruption. Currently recording using this mic. I hope it is going through the mic and not the phone mic when I plug it in and hit record. There's no indication that it's using a mic. The mic color is on, which indicate that it's talking to each other. But on the Google Pixel 8a, we need to actually go into the settings and hit use mic. On the Galaxy S24, it automatically recognizes the mic and it says recording through mic, so I know it is using the mic. I'm gonna try not to say the word mic anymore. But with this particular phone, we shall see how the audio turned out, but currently trying to use this to record the video. Next thing I do not like about this phone is the software update. Since it is considered a budget phone, it is only 1 year of software update, and this is unacceptable by 2024 standards. I have to fact check it by looking in multiple places, Phone Arena, Android Authority. I wasn't sure if I read that right or it was just a bad source. It seems like it is right. I know the flagship phones generally get 2 years, so the budget phone get 1 year. And despite the only 1 year of software update, they are also usually pretty slow with the updates as well, which is unfortunate. In general, I don't really care too much for software updates from year to year. They don't really change that much. But security updates is what I'm more concerned about, because you truly do want to stay up to date to avoid any vulnerability. You don't want to get hacked. And with the Google Pixel 8a at $500 or $400 if you can get on sale, they offer 7 years of software update there. So I personally think that is a no-brainer just from a peace of mind perspective. If you want to keep a phone for a long run that is safe, secure, and you can use it without even thinking about getting hacked or anything like that. Although Pixel phones tend to be pretty vulnerable as well. I saw articles about multiple hacking attempts, but at least Google is addressing all their software security pretty frequently on a monthly basis, and I've seen that they made at least 50 updates to all their vulnerabilities. So it's nice to see that Google is on top of the game there. Motorola, on the other hand, definitely have some work to do, so I hope that in future phones they would at least consider bumping it to 3 to 4 years at minimum. I think 7 is a bit of overkill, but 3 to 4 years is fine. 1 year is totally unacceptable. Fifth reason why I do not like this phone is it does not come with a charging brick. Usually budget phones are aimed at more value customer, people looking to find the best value in their phone. And this phone does have 30 watt fast charging, which is higher than the Galaxy S24 at 25 watt charging. OnePlus 12 on the other hand is in a similar price range, $400 to $500 depending on when you can get it or what you trade in if it's on sale. That phone comes with 100 watt fast charging with the brick included in the box. So if you are really looking to value and don't want to spend another $25 on a charging brick, you might want to look elsewhere. Slightly disappointed that the brick is not included in this particular phone. I have a bunch of bricks around the house, so it doesn't really bother me, but from a value-seeking consumer perspective, I would have liked to see it included, especially since the software, you're only getting 1 year software update and it's still a $400 phone, which is not cheap by any means. Sixth thing I do not like is the camera bump in the back. I just think it looks ugly. I don't like this little blending rays effect look. Either you just keep the camera lens module, it would just have the circles like Samsung have it. I just think this is a weird blended look. It's personal preference. If you just slap a case on it, you might not even notice it. I like to use my phone without cases, and it's just something that I think is ugly. I mean, I don't look at the back of my phone that often, I guess, except when I'm recording videos like these where I'm actually using the Motorola camera. Something minor, but I just want to throw it out there. Next thing I do not like is not specific to Motorola itself, but just for Google. The Google folder is just right front and center when you first open up the phone, and he's seeing all these rainbow color apps. They all look exactly the same. It's kind of frustrating how Google did that. I wish they just kept YouTube red and all the other apps a specific color. Now they all look the same. You really have to read to figure which app you're using. Even their Watch app is a rainbow. The Google Fit app is a rainbow. They don't even do it all across the apps either. Google Keep is yellow. Like, why is that one yellow and some of these other one rainbow? It's just a pet peeve of mine. Sorry, Motorola, I had to throw it in here. It has nothing to do with the phone itself, but just because you guys have the folder there, and I had to fit this rant somewhere. Next thing I do not like is this phone does not have always on display. Price Motorola phone doesn't have it. Samsung has it. Pixel have it. iPhone has it. And for whatever reason, the Motorola, they just have the at a glance feature. Maybe you wave your hand at it and you pick it up, you can see it. I personally like to have always on display on every single phone that I have. This makes it easier. I don't want to have to lift up my phone. I don't want to have to touch it or tap it just to see the time. I just want to glance over it to see the time. But I guess you can always buy a smartwatch, but that's going to be additional money. But at least now I have my smartwatch here. So since I'm using this with my Motorola Stylus, it doesn't bother me as much. But if I did not have it, it definitely would be a sticking point for me. I am always on display guy, so I would have liked to see it included. I did download an app for always on display. I don't know, I feel like sometimes it's on, sometimes it's not. Maybe it's getting overwritten by my wallpaper. TBD, gotta do more research there, but if they have it built in, I wouldn't need to find an alternative solution. Number 9 thing I do not like about this phone is Android Auto works kind of funky with this phone, especially if I have hotspot on. Not really sure why, but it only happened with this phone. It didn't happen with my Pixel or my Galaxy S24. I tend to use hotspot a lot, especially if I'm on the road. I want to use my other phone for work or other related reasons. Driving, if I use Android Auto, is fine, but if I turn on hotspot, it would turn off my Android Auto. I guess because I use wireless Android Auto, is connecting to my phone through Wi-Fi or something like that. But it's just slightly annoying that I have to toggle my hotspot on and off if I want to use Android Auto and also have my hotspot on at the same time. Maybe there's something I can play in the settings to figure out, but by default it is somewhat frustrating and it requires additional work for me to figure it out. So for example, if I'm driving, I want Android Auto on, maybe I want to turn on hotspot for my kids to be on the tablet or something like that. It should both work instead of just turning off the other one. So slightly annoyed there. 10th reason I don't like about this phone is it does heat up a little bit when I play games. It doesn't really bother me, but if you're using this phone for the long run, it does feel warm. And even when you're charging the phone with the fast charging, it gives you a warning saying that your phone may heat up. So it's not good for the battery long term, but at the same time, they're only supporting this phone for 1 year anyway, so it's not like you're keeping it for 7 years. Just something to keep in mind, heat in general make the battery decline faster over time, so I do wanted to point that out. 11th reason I do not like about this phone is it only has IP52 water resistant. With a lot of budget mid-range phone like this, sometimes they have water resistance, sometimes it doesn't. IP52 is better than nothing. It is splash proof. I wouldn't use it in the rain or in the shower with water constantly hitting it. Definitely would not be submerging it in the pool. I like to have more peace of mind. It's not the end of the world. I do like to use my phone in the shower, but with this phone I just have to be a bit more cautious. Last thing I do not like about this phone is the camera is actually really slow to launch. Sometimes it can take 1 second or up to 5 seconds to launch. I don't know why. Whether it's like video or camera, and I think even though the camera is not that good, it should be able to launch quicker. And I feel like the camera is the only app that I've experienced this. All the other apps where I'm playing games or do something else, it have worked fine. It's just the camera just a little bit slow to launch. And I think this is a huge flaw because usually when you're taking pictures, sometimes you're driving along the road, you see the nice sunset, and want to take out your phone and quickly snap a picture. You want something that launch really fast and you can take the picture right away. You don't want to wait 5 seconds and then you might miss the picture. So a lot of time you want camera performance to be something that is instant regardless it is good or not. Because the best camera is the one that is available. You may have the best quality camera in the world, but if it takes forever to launch and you miss a shot, then that's no good, is it? Alrighty, so now that I've finished being a negative Nancy, let me jump into 12 things that I do like about this phone. Initially I had 11 to begin the video, but I added a few more on both sides. So 12 things I like, 12 things I do not like. So first of all, I like the color in this phone. It is a nice red color. I think there's another cream color available as well, but I think that looks bland and boring. I usually like to go for the more funky color, red, green, blue, pink, anything with black or any shade of white. So I do like the unique color in this phone. It stands out. Of course, if you use any case, it doesn't really matter. I personally like to use my phone without cases, and I just like the fact that this phone stand out and it is a nice, vibrant red color phone. I don't think I used so many red color phones in the past. Maybe I've used pink before, maybe once or twice over the last 10 years, but this is a nice looking color phone that is unique and I think it is fun. I really like the weight on this phone. For a 6.7 inch phone, and ironically weighs 6.7 ounces. The Galaxy S24 Ultra weighs 8.22 ounces and it feels significantly heavier. The S24 Ultra is 6.8 inches, and when I hold both phones, the Ultra just feels so much more cumbersome to hold, which is why I complain about bigger screen a lot. This one, even though it is a large screen, it feels much lighter, so it doesn't really bother me. I mean, typing can be challenging with one hand. If you want to reach all the way to the top, it can be difficult to reach with one hand. But other than that, I think the weight feels good. The Pixel 8a, just for reference, is 6.6 ounces, so this phone is almost identical to the 8a, even though the 8a is only a 6.1 inch phone. So good job Motorola there with the weight. It feels nice and balanced and really easy to use for a big phone. And this phone is pretty fast. The Snapdragon 6 Gen 1. I mean, for the most part, it is pretty fast. I mentioned earlier the camera app is slow, but other than that, everything else feels okay. If you're scrolling around, game launches just fine. Not really too many considerable lag. It's pretty fast when just scrolling around. When I use the A54 last year from Samsung, I do notice it feels slightly slower. Just normal everyday users swiping, going up and down. But this phone, it feels pretty smooth, at least 80 to 90% of the time, which is pretty good for the price. The OnePlus 12R, on the other hand, it is blazing fast at $400 to $500. So when you own flagship chip, but that phone is much faster than the Moto G Stylus. I like the 30 watt fast charging and the 15 watt wireless charging. That is higher than the Galaxy S24. It's also higher than the Pixel 8a, so good value there. I like the slim bezels on this phone. I'm usually not a big bezel guy, but when I first unboxed the Google Pixel, the 8a has giant bezel. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, once you get used to it, your eyes do adapt and I don't really notice it. But I do want to point this out. I prefer smaller bezel, maybe not too small to the point that it's curved and lead to accidental touches, but some bezel is fine, and the thinner bezel just definitely look better. This phone also have 120Hz refresh rate, which is rare for the budget territory, but these days I feel like it is becoming more common and a lot more phones are including 90 to 120Hz refresh rate. Even the iPhone 15 base model, an $800 phone, that phone is only 60Hz refresh rate. So you're getting something that a phone twice as much does not offer. And I don't really use the stylus a lot, but I do like the fact I was just pulling out to play with it for one time. I do, and I have the Google Keep app open, and it allows me to write with a pen. I was surprised to find that it was integrated pretty well. I guess literally right on the app itself, and it was just showing text. I think that's pretty cool. The S24 Ultra, the S Pen, it feels like it forces you to use the Samsung app. Maybe it's integrated with Google Keep, but not as much, or it's not as intuitive. For me, I just pull it out without much thought and start scribbling away, and I noticed that my texts were getting transcribed automatically. So it was just me waving a pen a few times for fun. It's not something I use on a daily basis. And another feature I want to point out that I think is pretty cool is this handwriting calculator. I saw Apple in their presentation, they have like a new calculator app on their tablet using AI. Like that was the first time I ever heard of that feature, and then here I'm using this Moto phone. It already has that feature built in as well. You can literally write what you want to calculate and it will show up. I think it's pretty cool. And I'm not sure if it's able to do all the high-end math, cosine, sine, and I don't remember any of those stuff anymore from high school 20 years ago, but that would have been cool to have. I was doing math and I could just figure out that way and have it built in. It's a pretty neat little trick that is tucked away. These days I'm not doing any crazy calculation, just doing basic math. I can use it on any calculator. This one is pretty cool that you can actually use the pen to write it out and it does the calculation for you. Surprised Samsung haven't implemented this yet, or I'm pretty sure you're going to see it in the next versions. It's a neat little trick tucked away in this Moto G Stylus at $400. I like the fact that the stylus is on the right hand side. It is a small quality of life improvement, but it makes a big difference. When I use the Galaxy Ultra phones, the pen is on the left side. I'm a righty, so when I hold it, the pen is tucked in my palm, so it feels a little counterintuitive to try and pull the pen out, versus this one is on the right hand side. I hold my phone on my left hand side, I just pop the pen out on the right. And I can see why Samsung did it that way, because all the camera module and everything's on top. They would need to push everything out. I guess if you're lefty is fine. For me personally, I'm a righty and I prefer my pen on the right side. And I love that this phone has micro SD support. I actually have not put the micro SD card in because this phone also has 256GB of storage, which I think should be the standard. For some reason the S24 only has 128 and the Pixel 8a also 128GB as well. So 128 is on the lighter side for today's standard. Video, pictures, everything is bigger. Apps are getting larger and everything's getting more high definition, so it just takes more storage. I do like the plentiful storage on this phone with the high base storage, and also it supports up to 2TB in micro SD if you need that. I like the false leather look in the back. It is similar to the Galaxy Note 3. They call it vegan leather. It feels unique, it's grippy, and so I like that. Doesn't leave fingerprint, and I think it's a cool design. And last thing that I really like about this phone is the battery life. It is a truly all-day battery life, and more the first day of me using this phone, I got 24 hours out of it. It died around the 30 hours mark, which I think is fine. I don't mind charging my phone overnight. With the 12-hour, I was getting on average about 36 hours with light to moderate usage, but 30 hours is not too shabby for a mid-range phone. And just for comparison, the Google Pixel 8a, I get about 20 hours. The S24, I get about 18 to 20 hours. So battery life is pretty good for a mid-range phone. Alright guys, there you have it. Those are the 12 things that I like and do not like about the Moto G Stylus. This is my initial impression. I'm going to do more testing and let you guys know. In a week, I'm going to give you a final review of this phone. Let me know if there's anything else you guys want me to cover. Remember to like and subscribe. I appreciate the time as always. Please check out my last video where I did my final review on the Google Pixel 8a if you haven't already. And once I finish with this phone, I'm going to do the same type of review. So see you guys over there, and thank you for your time.